what's up? Hi. I'm making a call out post to Adam Neely. Not really. I haven't even watched the guy in forever. And plus I'm sure he's a very nice guy in real life. But anyway, I am making a call out post to music theory YouTubers. They really piss me off. Again, I'm sure they're fine people. I'm sure they're great people. I'm sure they're great people. I'm not sure why I'm doing that Trump impression. But anyway, I'm sure they're great people. Okay? But the things they say I disagree with. I don't even know if they currently even believe these things that they have said before previously and things that I've just heard in passing. So I'm not actually really calling out anyone specific. I'm just calling out a specific idea that I've seen being put around when it comes to learning music. And I want to give some advice as someone who has been playing music for over a decade. I am completely self-taught, right? I did go to orchestra for a while, so maybe you can't technically say I was self-taught because I learned the basics of how to play the double bass, right? And then I just fucked off. I ignored that shit and I went out and did stuff on my own, and I forgot I don't know how to read music or anything like that, right? I'm a big tabs guy. I'm just tabs and YouTube tutorials of like people teaching songs. That's how I do it. But mostly because the reason I play guitar is because I like writing songs. I don't just play guitar. I play a shit ton of instruments. I like writing songs. I do also kind of like learning other people's stuff, but and the thing is that even jamming out with people who do know music theory, who do know more stuff like that, I can still keep up with them, and I can still kind of understand what's going on. Because the thing is that I do know some like music theory, I guess you could call it. You could technically. I don't. My eyebrow really hurts. I'm not sure why. I think I got a zit on there, which is unfortunate. Um. So technically, I do know some music theory. It's just stuff I've picked up from uh from learning music in general, right? And when I say music theory, obviously, I mean like Western music theory, like the world of like American, European, I guess too, like the system that they use to talk about music, right? So like you can eventually pick up on some of that stuff. It's like, but the thing is about music theory, why I'm so against going to school for that kind of thing, is because it is it's intuitive. Music theory is intuitive. Okay. I mean, how do you think people came up with it in the first place? All that music theory is, all that Western music theory is that they teach in like fucking Berkeley and shit, or like all that they teach in those schools. I mean, technically, I can't know because I've never been to one, but I know for a fact, and I'm gonna say this, just without, I'm just gonna confidently say this, even though I might not know what I'm talking about. I know for a fact that modern music theory that they teach in schools, all it is coming up with arbitrary names for shit, right? Just coming up with rules. That's all it is. But all of the stuff, it's already there, right? The music is already there. You can intuitively pick up that stuff on your own by teaching yourself. And you can learn that stuff and discover it on your own without really even needing names for it, you know? Now, obviously, it's not entirely true. You can't without like what was I going to say? You can't like stick someone like a child in the woods and raise them alone and like they're going to figure out standard tuning by like making their own guitar or something like that, right? Obviously that's not what I'm saying. Like but that's a really extreme example of like but the thing is if you just pick up a guitar and you start messing around with it, that stuff is pretty easy. Now, it is good to learn proper form and stuff like that. That stuff I will agree. That stuff is not always very intuitive. Some people can just it's just the way their brains work. They just kind of do it completely fucked up and wrong, and they end up like hurting their wrists real bad and their fingers and stuff, trying to get that stuff figured out. So that's always good to learn. But like music theory in general and going to school for that, you don't need any of that shit. It's bullshit. Um And it works for some people, right? It all really depends on what you want. The thing is that I could very easily like go to school and I would probably excel in it very well. I would probably excel in it and I would probably become like, I mean, maybe this is like me tooting my own horn, but I would become like Steve Vai. I would be able to play like fucking crazy like him. I'd be able to play fucking a gillion notes per second, and I would be playing every single note and picking it, and stuff like that. But the thing is that's not what I want. Okay, I don't want to be a human metronome. Um, I don't want to be like a machine, and that's the thing. This is the, I don't know if I came up with this quote on my own, but somebody has probably said it before, right? Somebody else has probably said something similar. One thing that I always stand by when it comes to music is make music with your heart and not your mind. Okay, do not do not min max music. You're allowed to, but it's lame to me. Okay, so I just personally I think it's lame. Just drinking some really gross coffee right now. I think it's lame to min max music. The same reason. Here's the thing. I play a lot of Balatro. I play probably more than the average person. I definitely do play more than the average person plays Balatro. Um, like I didn't even realize how into it I was compared to other people. But I have almost 200 hours in the game. Okay, and if you don't know what Balatro is, it's just a game. It doesn't really matter. But the thing is, it's like you're just playing to get a certain score, right? And you have these Joker cards that help you get higher scores and stuff, and they have different synergies and different things work together, right? But the thing is that I don't like about Balatro is the people who min max it, because that takes the entire fun out of the game. Because you're not playing a game, you're just basically doing math, right? And it's not. It's really to me is a really lame way to play. I don't even see how it's fun. I don't even see how it's fun to try and like constantly do math and everything has to be optimal, you know. And they get very mad. The people in the Balatro Discord will get very mad if you do not play optimally and you advocate for not playing optimally. They will get very pissed off. So it just wasn't really my crowd, unfortunately. But no shade thrown, just not my people. But it's the same thing. Min maxing in video games is lame. You play stuff to have fun, and you make music to make music sound good. Okay, and that means different things to different people. Obviously, if some people do want to min max, some people do want to practice for like 3 hours a day playing with a metronome, doing all these crazy scales and all their shapes, and they're going up and down the neck and they're doing all that stuff. But that to me, how is that even fun? How is that even? That's not like, and you're not really doing anything. Obviously, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work doing that stuff, going to school and doing, having a strict practice regimen, if regimen is the correct word. I almost said regime. Um, but having a strict practice schedule, it takes a lot of work doing that stuff, going to all of these music schools and stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying it takes too much work. That's what I'm saying, is that it's pointless. You don't need to do any of that. And how is that even fun? How is that even making music? How is it? I feel like it's so much more rewarding and it makes so much more sense to try and figure that stuff out by yourself and then be able to, think musically, have a music oriented brain instead of, boiling it down to a science, right? To me, it's the equivalent of like, well, I was gonna say something, but I don't think it really makes sense. But I'm gonna say it anyway. It's like Nile Red. If you watch that guy on YouTube, he turned like a plastic, like a silicone glove or silicone rubber glove, something like that. He turned a glove into like grape soda, and to me, it's like that's cool, right? But why do you need to see? It doesn't really make sense. So just ignore it. But music is not a science. It is to some people. That's fine. But to me personally, I'm just going to say it as if it is factual because it's really annoying to constantly like overcorrect yourself and to like to like pregame other people's criticism that's being levied towards you. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just gonna say these things as if they are facts from now on. But just know it's just my opinion, okay? But music is not a science. It's not something to be broken down. It's not something to be understood. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to turn music into a science. Like why I can't understand how it's fun, how music is enjoyable in that way when all of it is really like again, it is still your hard work, but it's also not your work. You're basically just becoming a Xerox machine, right? You're just copying all of this stuff that you learned, and then that's what I see, right? That's a lot of what I see when I see all these people that are very talented. They're very talented people, although I don't really like the word talented. They're very skilled players. Um, they're very skilled players. They're very disciplined players, and they play very well. And they do all this stuff, but there's something missing from their music. All of these people that did like go to school for that stuff, and there's something missing from their music. I don't know what it is. I really I've been trying so long to articulate what about it is. It's like I was at a Dream Theater concert, right? Excuse the voice crack. I was at a Dream Theater concert, and I never really listened to Dream Theater, but they're a pretty good band. I'm sure they went to. I'm sure they're definitely not self-taught musicians, especially like. But I don't know. Anyway, that's besides the point. The openers for the Dream Theater concert, they were a band that had a very similar vibe to Dream Theater. It was really jazzy. It had all these super complex chords and stuff like that. But there was just something in their music, even though it was the same genre. It was like the same sound, the same like neo jazz. I don't know if you would call Dream Theater jazz. I don't know. This like math, this like it's not math rock, but you know what I mean. This like really mathy music that is very complex and has all this crazy stuff going on. But to me, it didn't. What it comes across as is again, like I said, a Xerox. Like they have all of this information in their brain, and they're literally just like kind of copy pasting it. They're literally like copy pasting it. Sorry about that. Onto like a sheet music and then just playing it, right? I don't think they were using sheet music, but I'm saying that like metaphorically. They were just like copy pasting all of this information they had in their brain and just laying it out, and none of it had any soul inside of it. And that's why it's hard to talk about this kind of stuff because music is very subjective. Because maybe to them they are really passionate about that kind of music. Obviously they are if they're playing a concert and opening for some people. If they're doing that kind of stuff, obviously they are passionate about their music. But despite the passion, not in spite, despite the passion that they obviously hold for music, there is a soulful spark missing from it. It's like, have you ever heard of a caravan cult? Do you know what a caravan cult is? I'm sure many of you. It was like I saw it in a video essay like forever ago. Um, I'm not even sure if it's true. It might even be kind of problematic, but I'm just going to use it as an example anyway. There were these soldiers that went to this island that in World War II, I believe it was. They went to this island that had not had contact with the outside world or something like that. Whatever you call those groups of people. I'm not sure. There's like a word for it that they use, but I'm not sure what it is. But they went to this sort of no contact village on an island. They landed their planes there, right? And it was said that the World War II soldiers gave some of the people of the island gifts and stuff like that. And the people of the island were so enthralled with this that they tried recreating everything they had seen to try and bring the soldiers back. Now, um, again, I'm not really sure how true the story is. I'm not sure if it's like but I'm not even sure if I'm explaining it very well. But they tried recreating like the planes out of straw, and they tried recreating the soldiers' marches, and they tried basically just copying all of these things that they saw that they didn't really understand all of this technology to try and maybe uh to try and like get them to come back, I think, or something like that. But basically, they were just trying to they were doing basically the same thing that the soldiers were doing, right? They had the plane, even though the plane was like made out of rudimentary materials, but they had the plane, and they were marching, and they had like I think they had sticks or spears or something in place of the rifles, and they were doing the marches and stuff like that. They were doing all the same things that the World War II soldiers were doing, but they didn't know where all that stuff was coming from, if that makes any sense. I feel like I'm just explaining this terribly. But it's basically like, the best way to describe it is with the plane example. It's like seeing a plane, you don't know what a plane is, right? Pretend you don't know what an airplane is. And you see one, and you're like, wow, that's really cool. How the fuck is that thing flying? And then you try and make it yourself, just without knowing. And you make something that looks similar to an airplane, right? And you make something that looks, maybe it looks exactly like it, but you don't really know how any of it works. You didn't intuit any of it yourself, and then it's just something that kind of looks like it, but it doesn't work. It doesn't fly on its own because it can't fly on its own. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, and to me that's a parallel to what some of these music theory people do. Is they are like a caravan cult of music. I should just look up the Wikipedia for caravan cult. I'm just gonna do that because this is an unedited video. I'm not gonna edit this shit. So we're gonna look up caravan cult to try and make my point here. What the heck? Caravan cult Wikipedia. There we go. I'm cargo cult. Okay. Cargo cults were spiritual and political movements that arose among indigenous Melanesians following the Western colonization of the region in the earliest 20th century. So it wasn't World War II, was it? The first documented cargo cults. I don't know why I thought it was caravan cult. They were religious movements, and yeah, they received an abundance of Western food and goods, the cargo. So the followers would imminently receive. The first documented cargo cults were religious movements that foretold followers would imminently receive an abundance of Western food and goods because these soldiers landed on Malaysia. Is it Malaysia? Melanesians? They landed on a Malaysian island of people, and so they brought these care packages, right, to all of these soldiers that landed on the island, and then the people thought, they thought that it was a blessing from God or something like that, right? So it became something like that, and they tried recreating and imitating the actions of the colonists to try and get more care packages, to get more of those food, of the supplies and the cargo, right? So if I explained that well, that is what I feel like. I feel like that has a parallel to people who do music theory stuff because they're doing everything right, technically, right? They're learning all of this stuff, and they're learning the circle of fifths. They're like, this chord goes with this chord and this chord, and then it gets more complicated and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember some of that complicated stuff because I do occasionally watch music theory videos, and then it like rage baits me super hard. It makes me super fucking pissed off. So I don't watch them as often anymore because I don't want to just make myself angry. But yeah, they learn like, this chord goes with this chord and this and that, and there's parallels and all of this stuff, and they learn all of that, and they kind of just, and instead of they use their mind to make music instead of their heart, right? They turn it into a science, and it becomes this thing where it's like, yes, this has all of the elements of a good song. It has all of the elements of a complex song, and it took a lot of time to put together, but you're not making you're not doing it right. And that's again, and music is subjective. So you can think I'm wrong. That's okay. But I'm going to think you're wrong probably until the day I die. Because I've been making music for a long, long time, and I have not changed my opinion on this at all. And that's why I advocate for people to teach themselves this kind of stuff, because that's all it takes is some dedication. We have all the resources, man. There are people out there that are better songwriters than Paul McCartney, right? There are people out there that have a tool set. I mean, I kind of glaze Paul McCartney. I think he's uh, a really, really great musician, and he's my favorite Beatle. He writes, I love his solo stuff. But anyway, um, there are people that are better musicians than Paul McCartney that have the potential to be like that, right? And all they need to do is try to write music and try and make it unique and try and do their stuff. I feel like I was going somewhere else with that made more sense, but yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that the way to unlock that is just by learning that stuff on your own, because it is intuitive. Oh, right. I was saying there are people that can potentially be better musicians than Paul McCartney because they have so many more resources to help teach themselves than people back then, in like the 60s and 70s ever could have dreamed of, right? That's why I mean there's honestly an oversaturation of music, obviously, because there's did I just say obviously twice? Anyway, there's like a big oversaturation in the market of music, right? And a lot of it's bad, unfortunately. Um, but there's so many resources to help you teach yourself, and you have the potential to become one of the best songwriters, the most renowned songwriters because of that, right? That is the big advantage we have over people. And that's why, because technically, when you're teaching yourself, you're still learning stuff from other people. That's not really like self taught, is kind of, again, some people, I feel like some music theory YouTubers, they get so pissed off when they hear that word. You're not self taught. You know what music theory is. They say stuff like that. You know what music theory is. You're not self taught, isn't what you think it is. Well, like, that's why this is why I don't really like the English language, because some terms we come up with are a lot more layered and complex, and a lot of people, like, especially on the internet, the words kind of lose meaning to people, and they don't understand what it means, and they just kind of throw it out there. But self-taught doesn't mean, like I said, like you were raised in the woods away from all of humanity, and you somehow figured out to how to build a guitar yourself, and you figured out standard tuning, and you completely taught yourself how to write the best songs of all time, and you taught yourself all of the chords and stuff. Like that's not what self-taught means. Like, you still learn stuff from outside sources, right? When people say self-taught, it's more of a pejorative. I don't know if pejorative is the right word. It's more of just a term that means you didn't go to school, right? You didn't go to school, you didn't have private lessons, you didn't have a teacher, stuff like that, right? That's what self-taught means. Self-taught means that maybe, I don't know, it can mean several different things. Maybe your parents put on a Black Sabbath record when you were a little kid, and then you're like, oh man, maybe you heard the bass line for um, Paranoid, and you were like, whoa, I want to be able to do that. What is that? And your parents tell you, oh, that's a bass guitar. Oh, can I get a bass guitar? And then you get one, and then you just try and mess around on it, and you kind of fiddle around on the thing until you eventually kind of learn how to really shittily play the bass line of Paranoid. So that's one version of being self-taught. Maybe you heard a record and it just spoke to you so much that you asked your parents for an instrument, they got you an instrument, and then you kind of just started picking it up. You would listen to that song, you would listen to that record over and over and over, and you would try and play along with it. Or maybe if you're someone like me, you would hear some of your favorite songs and you would want to jam out with them. And you would play the song and you would write your own stuff over it. And then you would do your own version of the song. And that's stuff that like I would do. That's what I would do a lot, and that's how I learned. And really, the biggest way that I learned was just by writing my own songs. Ever since I was young, ever since I was, ever since I can remember, really, I always had these little songs playing in my head. I would have these little melodies because so my parents they were big on playing music, right? That's what they did a lot for us when me and all my siblings were younger. Sometimes we had a bunch of music on our PlayStation 3, and it was in the living room, and the parents would put on some of the music that was downloaded onto the PS3, and they would play it for all of us, and all of us little kids, we would just dance around in the living room to the music, right? And we would ask our parents, "Oh, can you please play songs?" And like so many different types of music was played too. My my parents have a very diverse, like especially my dad. My dad has a very diverse music taste, and he listens to all different kinds of stuff. And my mom too. They just listened to all different kinds of music, and they played all of that for us. And so when I heard that music, I had really bad like auditory processing issues when I was younger because autism, but I didn't even know there were words in songs until I was probably like 7 years old, which is really funny. Um, but I just remember hearing it was actually a Hank Williams 3 song, which a lot of people, maybe if you do know Hank 3, you kind of go like ugh, or you go like, oh, that's cool, but maybe you think Hank 3 is cringe, but I like him mostly because of nostalgia, because it's really good. Like, but some people don't like country music, which is okay. But um I heard "Working on a Mountain" by Hank 3. "Looking for a Mountain," not "Working for a Mountain." I'm stupid. "Looking for a Mountain" by Hank 3. That song was such a huge, like, I heard that and my 6-year-old mind was like I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I also heard Lee DeWise, his version of Hallelujah, which is like, I think honestly might kind of be a deep cut. I don't know if people really talk about uh, Lee DeWise. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his name. But he was on American Idol or something like that, and it was his performance of Hallelujah. And yeah, and then Fireflies by Owl City. Those songs like blew my mind when I was younger, and I would hear that stuff, and then all I could think about was music, and I just always had music playing in my head, and I would come up with my little melodies ever since I was, you know, a really really young kid, and I just always would make up these little songs just about random stuff, completely random stuff all the time. It could be about anything, and that's what started me was songwriting, just writing my own songs because I was like, I wanna do that, you know. And I didn't really have any specific genre that like super spoke to me, right? I just wanted to write songs, just like, kind of like singer songwriter stuff, which is a lot of what I did earlier in my earlier years of making albums and stuff was just like singer songwriter, just making up random stories, just little short 1 to 2 minute songs just about random stuff, about heartache, about just random stuff. And that was like one of the first songs I ever wrote. Hold on. One of the first songs I ever wrote was for someone who at the time was a girl, but he's a guy now. So I haven't really even talked to him in like forever. I don't even know where he is now, but I wrote a song for him, and I never really got the chance to show him. But oh, this is tuned down. Okay, hold on. That's in tune enough. Okay, so this is one of the first songs that I ever wrote. I'm pretty sure it is the first song I ever wrote. And I believe I was maybe even in 5th or 6th grade when I wrote that song. And that was, like, obviously, I didn't play it quite as clean as I did there, and it was probably even more simplified than how I was playing it. But that melody, that was like one of the the times I'd stole my brother's guitar, and I just started writing that, and it was. And then I wrote some words to it. But yeah, that was one of the first songs I ever wrote, and I just all I did to write that song was I just stole my brother's guitar and just started messing around until I came up with something, because I had the melody in my head, and I didn't just, pick it up and instantly play that and just, but it took a while. But I was sort of just kind of learning, and that's how, because I started out playing the bass, but that's how I started eventually moving on to guitar and moving on to writing my own songs and stuff like that. Anyway, but that's all you gotta do. And again, that song wasn't super complex. It wasn't super like it wasn't out of this world insane, It was just a very simple, just playing the bass note, and that's what I started out finger picking and stuff like that. And again, it wasn't really complex finger picking. It wasn't insane, but that's just what I was doing, just with my two fingers, just messing around with that. And I wrote a lot of songs that way. I'm gonna pick up the guitar again. And one song I wrote, this song went on my very first album. Not really a plug, but because it's not even anywhere right now. I still need to get it up, but this song was later on that I wrote. I think I wrote it when I was about 13. And oftentimes what I would do, and this really helped me get better at playing guitar, is I had this little app. I'm thinking now that I've said all of this in my previous rant about music theory and stuff like that, but whatever. It doesn't matter. If I did, then it's whatever. But what I would do is I had this little app that was called Tune Me, and what I would do is probably record something like this. I would come up with something and just record the whole thing, right? It was usually just a single guitar part, or maybe sometimes several guitar parts. Maybe sometimes I would add in other instruments, but it sounded really shitty. It was hard to get to sound good because it was just on my tablet's microphone at the time. But yeah, I would record something maybe like this. I would record it for maybe about a minute or so. And then sometimes I would improvise lyrics, or other times I would have lyrics in mind and write those down. And that's mostly what I would do. So I would record the vocals separately and just play something like this. And then if I wanted to show the song to my parents, then I knew what the song sounded like because I had already had it recorded down. So then it was really just, since I already knew what it sounded like, I could just play and sing at the same time. I don't know about you, but I think I'm going crazy. I don't know about you, I think I'm going crazy. But yeah, that's what I would do. That's a really old song. It's so old. But yeah, and that's just to kind of give you an example. Example? I'm sorry. I'm so tired. And I'm really wired off of I'm on my second cup of coffee, and it's just gave me the jitters. So I always get a little out of breath. sometimes because I'm talking so much and not like breathing properly. But like that's just an example of like like again, it isn't really. Hold on. God damn it. It isn't me like flexing. I'm not saying like I'm so freaking awesome. Look, I just learned all of this stuff on my own. Like no, it's not like it's not really a flex to be self-taught, right? Because it's stuff that you can just intuitively pick up by yourself by just doing it, okay? And this is the other aspect of this video that I wanted to talk about is let yourself be shitty. Let yourself suck, okay? You suck. And that's okay. Even now, even after a decade plus of playing guitar and writing songs, ever since I was in like 4th grade, bro, I've been playing instruments and writing songs. And I still kind of suck sometimes, you know? I play a lot of bum notes, I play a lot of stuff wrong, and that's okay. You know why it's okay? Because it still sounds pretty fucking cool. Okay? I don't need to be you also don't need to be Steve Vai. If you don't know who that is, he's a really good guitarist. I'm trying to think of some other examples, you know? You don't have to be a human metronome. You don't have to do all of that shit and write like you don't need to do any of that because you can pick it up by yourself. And that's why being self-taught isn't a flex. Because of that fact that stuff is easy to pick up on and it's easy it's easy to master because eventually, you know, you'll write songs and you'll maybe you get more equipment, maybe you get more stuff like that. And then you listen back to your old stuff and it's like, "Oh man, wow, this really is like all over the place." Like I'll do that all the time. I'll listen to an old song that I made when I was like 13 years old and I was like, "Dude, this is the best song ever." And then I'll listen to it now that I'm older and it's like, "Oh, well this is really cool, but you know, the drums, nobody plays drums like that. That's not like the drums were all over the place and the melodies were all kinds of like and sometimes I would intentionally create stuff that is like, whoa, that's really crazy. Like how kind of offbeat sometimes like the song was, and then it kind of wraps around to like it really was a caveman brain, you know, like process, but then it kind of wraps around to being genius again, which is what happens a lot of times with self-taught guitarists. Is that they'll be bad at something, and then it wraps around to being technically genius because it's really difficult to recreate. But yeah, so that's just let yourself suck. But also, even though like you do kind of know, because at the time I knew that I wasn't like the best guitarist of all time. And I know now currently that I'm not the best guitarist of all time. I just know I'm pretty good. I know I suck in a lot of ways. I know I don't suck in a lot of other ways. But even back then, I knew it's like, okay, like obviously I'm not going to be the greatest musician of all time, but you still have confidence in your pieces, right? You still have confidence in your music. And don't listen to it and just be like, "Oh, this fucking sucks, like I'm off key, like all that stuff." It's whatever, man. You're putting your heart and your soul into it, and that's enough. You know? That's like this modern landscape of everything needing to be perfect is like, and that's why people are going to AI and stuff like that because they're really insecure, and instead of reflecting on that insecurity and saying, okay, well, why am I insecure, and instead of saying like, okay, well, how can I make it so I'm not insecure, instead they're just like, oh, I'll use AI to write music for me because I'll never be able to do that stuff ever in a million years. Like they'll see someone playing this insane, like Billy Strings, maybe that's a good example. If any of you know who that is, he's a really good guitarist. But it's about the mindset you have, right? Like maybe when I was 13 years old and I would see someone like Billy Strings, I'd be like, man, I don't think I could ever play that in a million years. But now I listen to that stuff and it's like, man, and then I try and recreate it and I bastardize, you know, some of his songs. Well, I've only learned one of his songs, but I bastardize like playing fast like he does because he does it really clean. He does it really amazingly. He's an amazing guitarist, but um, you know, it's not. But what the hell was I saying? You know, I don't see that, and I don't get insecure in myself just because I can't do what he does. Because I'm not, and because I'm not a perfect musician, because I'm not a perfect player. It should be about striving to a level that you're happy at instead of what everybody else thinks will be good, right? It's like all of these people that quantize their recordings and stuff like that, or they'll, it's like they do all this movie magic to make they do all of this like editing magic to make everything look perfect. And that's really sad that it has to be like that, because that's not how it should be. That's not what music is about. It's not about perfection. It's not about getting it down to a science. It's not going down to the molecular level and slowing down the video and seeing like, oh, there's a single bum note right here. I have to go and convert this into a MIDI file, and then I have to fix it and make it absolutely, and it has to be to the microscopic level. It has to be perfectly in time with this metronome. It's like, no, that's not always what these people are doing. But that's what it feels like, and that's the pressure it puts on other people. And you shouldn't let this idea of everything needing to be perfect get in the way of you being able to excel and being able to be great. Because anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Anybody. Anybody could pick up a guitar and become one of the greatest guitarists of all time by teaching themselves. Okay? And that is an objective fact. That is an objective fact. I don't care when anyone says, you're allowed to disagree with me, but you're disagreeing with facts, which is, you're just wrong. You can disagree with me, but you're just wrong. Anybody can learn. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're missing all of your fingers. It doesn't matter if you don't have arms. You can learn an instrument. You can make music somehow. Okay? It doesn't. Nothing is stopping you. And I just want to make that clear. Okay? And I need people. I know nobody's even gonna really watch this, but I need to put this out into the world, and I need maybe one person, the single viewer watching this video. Maybe you'll watch this and this will blow your fucking mind. And then maybe you'll go on to be the best guitarist of all time, okay? That's my hope, is just by having confidence in yourself and knowing that it is okay to suck, okay? There's some stuff that, yeah, maybe you'll never be able to do, right? Maybe there was some kid who has been playing the violin since he was 3 years old. Like, obviously, maybe you'll never be as good as him, but you don't need to be, right? You don't need to be. You just need to make stuff that you think sounds cool, okay? And if you absolutely think that being an insanely, what's the word? Being a young child prodigy is the only way that music could ever sound cool, I mean, that's just a mindset issue. Then you're really only hindering yourself by having that mindset, by thinking like, if I can't play the banjo like Bela Fleck, then what's even the point? If I can't play the bass like Victor Wooten, if I can't play like that immediately right now, then what's the point of ever trying? That is horse shit. That's dumb. You're not dumb, but that's dumb. That's a dumb way to think, and you gotta change that way of thinking. And this is still an argument I get in with my parents sometimes. I tell them, pick up an instrument, you could do it, and they go, no. And they disagree with me on the fact that I say anybody can learn. They disagree with me on that, and that's fine. They can be wrong. People are wrong sometimes. I should probably stop slouching, but I don't want to move the camera again. Okay, literally, there's stuff that I bet 13-year-old me, like 11-year-old me, would never even be able to conceive of playing. There's like, and even then, when I do learn songs that I'm really proud of, when I do learn songs from other people, and I'm really proud of being able to learn that song, I still kind of bastardize it, and that's okay. I'm not playing it exactly like that person played it. I'm adding my own personal flair to it, and I could spend 20 hours trying to perfectly replicate someone else's playing, but what's the point? The whole point of music is to add yourself into it. It is a personal thing. Music is a very personal thing. It has a completely different meaning to the person who wrote the song than the song you're listening to. And there are people that can enjoy the same song in totally different ways. That's like, I listen to the Beatles, right? Lots of people do. But a lot of people listen to it for different reasons, and they enjoy it in different ways than I do, right? That's a good example because the Beatles are like still the most popular rock band, of all time. They're the most influential. That's what everybody says. And I get sick of people glazing it. Because everybody likes fucking John instead of Paul, which makes me mad because John, whatever. That's a whole different thing to get into right now. But this song I learned, it's called "I'm Going Away." Okay, it's by Elizabeth Cotton. Okay, that's a little tidbit of that. But even then, even with how insecure I was at 13, and I was incredibly insecure. I hated myself more to so much when I was 13 years old. But even then, at that young age, I still would probably see myself playing this, or I would see someone else playing this song because I didn't know about the song at the time. I would hear songs like this and I would just try and replicate it, And I would probably do it really badly because I was not the best when I was 13, And that's okay. I would probably play a really simplified version. Maybe something just with strumming instead of fingerpicking, or maybe I would fingerpick it totally differently. I'm trying to think of how I don't know. I couldn't do the thumb thing when I was younger, I don't think. I really just played single notes instead of switching. But anyway, I even then, with how insecure I was as a 13-year-old, I would see people play stuff really good, and I would just kind of try and recreate it and bastardize it, And I would just totally fuck it up and do my own completely novice version. And that's fine because it still sounded good to me, and I still had confidence in it. And I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't the right way to play it, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the right way to play it, Because the thing is, especially about a lot of great old guitarists from the folk revival of the 60s, right? Especially with a lot of great guitarists from around that time. They would play their songs almost totally differently every time they would play it, They would just fuck around with the lyrics. Maybe they would forget the lyrics and just add in random stuff, And that's the thing why some people maybe prefer live music instead of recordings, is because each song is individually good. Each version of a song is individually good for its own reasons instead of listening to just one recording, right? But that's how it works. Even some of your favorite guitarists, a lot of them don't play their songs exactly like they do in the recording, and they do it differently because that's not, and again, some people do because they're that's the only way to play it. What do you mean? I have to play it in this exact way, or else it's not my song. It's a completely different song because I accidentally used, I played F sharp in a completely different position. That's not the same song. What are you talking about? And some people actually do have that mindset, which is crazy to me. But you don't have to play the same song the same every single time, You can fuck it up and you can do different stuff. It's fine. It's just how music works, man. And like I was saying, it's a very individual experience, right? You will like a song in your totally own unique way. It just frustrates me. Okay, well, don't fuck up like that. God damn it. I'm trying to think of another song. This one song. I can never pronounce the guy's name. It's I don't even want to say it, honestly. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna Google it real quick. The song is called Duna Ma Dunamaya. Oh, Dunamaya Lema. Uh, yes. Dunamaya Lema. It is by Bubakar. I cannot pronounce this guy's name. I am so sorry. I'm just gonna show you. Yes, right there. This song. Okay. All right. That is a song I learned. I did kind of try and learn the lyrics, but I always mess them up, so I'm not gonna sing it. Like that, like 13-year-old me could never imagine playing that, because it's like, and I listened to the song too. Like, I discovered it around a year or so ago, and I heard it and I was just totally enthralled. Like that YouTube video that popped up on the screen, that was the version that I heard before the studio recording. And I heard and I saw these guys playing this song, and my mind was just totally blown. And I was like, I don't even know how I could conceive writing a song like that. And I definitely could not write a song in let me not try and play and talk at the same time. I definitely could not write a song like that. It's just not my style. It's a totally different thing. Lots of different influences, and it's not really my interest. I prefer listening to that kind of music. I believe it's West Africa, or it's East Africa. Sorry, I always forget which part of Africa he is from. But I've been listening to a lot of his music, and the other guy, Ali something. They're both very good musicians. I suggest you check out that YouTube video that I was popping up on the screen and listen to their music, because it's really good. But anyway, what the hell was I saying? Right, like I couldn't imagine being able to learn that song, right? And then I just looked up a tutorial. I listened to it. I got like halfway through the tutorial before I got bored and just like figured it out on my own. And then it was like, oh, wow, okay. So I can just do that now. And that was like after years of practicing that stuff, right? Of being able to play stuff by ear, being able to figure out what chords are in a song. And oftentimes I still fuck up, I don't get it perfect. And I play it different. And then maybe I'll listen to the song a few times and be like, oh, I'm doing this wrong. Let me play it like this. Oh, I'm doing this. And I get something kind of close. And that's good enough for me. It doesn't need to be exactly perfect, okay? This is just a long-winded way of saying that. You don't need to be perfect. It is okay to suck at making music and playing instruments. It's okay. It's just how it's going to work. You're going to suck forever, okay? You're never going to be perfect. You're going to suck at guitar forever, so just play, okay? So just play and make stuff that sounds, good, okay? And that's like my mindset with a lot of my recordings, too. It's like, okay, I'm not going to get this recording perfect. That's good enough. And then I'll listen back to it, and it's like, how the fuck did I do that? I'll do that with some of my songs. I'll be like, how the hell did I even fucking write this? And again, if you're sitting here and you're saying, oh, this guy, but you don't get it, if you're sitting here telling me, like, no, you don't get it, I cannot play a guitar, I just cannot wrap my head around it. It's like, yes, you can eventually. Just keep on doing it. And the only thing that really does stop people, that does technically make my statement of anybody can learn, it does technically make it false, is because some people are so firmly stuck in not believing in themselves. That's what stops them. Or maybe it's just not in their interest. Maybe they do have an interest in it, but they know how much time it takes and they don't want to put that much time in. But that's all you need to do, is put the time in. And it doesn't have to be practicing. Practicing is fucking bullshit, okay? This is what the fucking music theory teachers do not want you to know, okay? And here's the thing. All of these people that went to school for music theory, they've been indoctrinated. They've been brainwashed, okay? Their brains have been scrubbed by the dirty, disgusting hands of all of these fucking music theory teachers. because you don't need to practice. There's no need to. You don't need to sit on your ass and practice scales for an hour a day, 15 minutes a day. No, you don't need to do that shit. You just play. That's all you do. I mean, I know I'm getting really mad about this, but that's all you need to fucking do is sit and play and just make stuff and just do it until it works. That's all you got to do. Okay, that's all I did. I have probably close to 1,000 hours in playing guitar and different instruments. Okay, like I don't, and all of that is like noodling. That's how I practice is by noodling. And people are saying like, oh, like I can hear it in my head. Some fucking music theory nerd out there is getting like a sense that something like a disturbance is happening, and they're like someone just said some bullshit that I totally disagree with and think is stupid. Like I know there's some fucking Berkeley musician that is like, oh, this guy's saying you don't need to practice. Like, but you don't. You don't. You can noodle for 1,000 hours and become one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And here's the thing, is that back to this whole cargo cult thing. Back to this whole cargo cult thing. There's no one way to learn guitar, okay? Do not listen to all these motherfuckers. Top 10 tips that I wish I had known when I started out on guitar. All you're going to do by trying to recreate that stuff and do that is become a cargo cultist. All you're going to do is just be a Xerox of a bunch of other people's bullshit. That's not, you have to figure it out. You have to kind of just figure it out on your own and tough through it. That's just how it is. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand, is that there's no like some people, and a lot of these people, they definitely mean well. Like, a lot of these people definitely are just trying to spread their love of music, but they just don't know that that's not how it works. You know, some people will say like, when I figured this out about guitar playing, and it totally changed my entire perspective on playing guitar, and it made me such a better guitar player. And why wasn't I doing this before? And they'll say stuff like that. But the thing is, that worked for them. It's not gonna necessarily work for you. All right. And if you're stuck just trying to watch all of these goddamn YouTube videos, or you're stuck trying to go to different classes and like figure shit out instead of just like toughing through it and trying to figure it out on your own, like I don't know what to tell you. That's a way harder road to go down than just teaching yourself, because you're going to get all of this bullshit stuffed in your head, you know? There's no one way to learn. And that's what puts a lot of people off to it, is that there's no one way to learn that will make you a great musician. That's what puts a lot of people off to playing guitar and doing that kind of stuff in the first place, because there's not a solid way to do it. Some people are just like that. They're like, well, if, and this is like not really modern, it's kind of a tale as old as time, really, when people think that you need to go to school for something for it to be valid in any sense, and you don't. And the unfortunate thing is that that's just something that's kind of, stuck in people's minds, that it's not really going to get out. They're like, well, what the fuck? You don't have a college education? What are you, a fucking loser? What are you just going to fucking, I don't know. They just say shit like that, right? Because they don't understand that there are other ways to do things. You don't have to go to the college route. Just in general, really. You don't have to go to the school route. It's good to get your diploma. You don't really want to be a dropout, because that statistically, I'm definitely not advocating for dropping out, okay? But you don't need to be excelling in school, and you don't need to go to school to be a good person, to be a functioning member of society. Society is what I meant to say. You don't need to do that, okay? And especially when it comes to music, you shouldn't go to school for music. You really shouldn't. Unless it's something you want to do. If you're seeing all of this, like, don't. But all I'm saying is, just you kind of just have to let yourself free. You have to let yourself roam wild when it comes to music. Okay? And again, just to, like, put it out there, this is just my opinion, okay? You have to let yourself roam wild and free. Like you're letting your dog out in the field, and you're saying, "Don't make this any harder than it has to be." And then the dog's looking at you like, "Hey, bro, what are we gonna do? Play some fetch?" And then you drive away. That's what you have to do with yourself. Is stick the little puppy version of yourself out of the car and just abandon them and let them roam free when it comes to guitar, if that makes any sense. Um, and then just figure out your own way to teach yourself. That's what the word self-taught is all about. Is just figuring out how to teach yourself. Okay. And again, I'm not saying that music theory is evil. It's not. I don't think music school is evil necessarily either. It's good for some things. It works for some people. I'm just saying that like some of the stigmas and stuff surrounding it, people who don't do that stuff, I feel like people who don't go that route are far too scrutinized, and they don't, and also do not get enough attention. Just in general, online spaces, a lot of self-taught people don't really. And even then, there are some self-taught people that'll listen to their music, and maybe I just don't like the music. But there's some self-taught people that it's like, okay, well, you basically, like, yeah, you're self-taught, but you're basically just playing, like, you know, insert music theory YouTuber that whose music I don't personally enjoy. Okay, that's like, so this is just like, again, I'm not saying I'm objectively right, except for the thing that anybody can learn guitar. That thing I am objectively right in. All this other stuff is pretty much subjective, and just how I feel about music. Okay, so again, really, this is, and it's kind of hard to get this through to people, to just be like, well, just figure it out. It's kind of hard to get that through to people, that because they want some sort of an answer, because that's not really an answer. If you're asking someone, well, hey, how should I learn guitar? And it's like, well, just pick it up and start playing. People don't like that, right? People don't like that being an answer. They're like, well, what do I do? Should I have a structure to how I practice? Should I practice at all? What should I do? And it's just like, I don't know, figure it out. That's not a great answer. I understand that. And that's why all of these videos of people telling, top 10 tips to get better at guitar instantly. That's why, and that stuff really makes me mad. That particular brand of content makes me really mad, because that's all about just playing into instant gratification, because there's definitely not a 10-minute way to instantly improve your guitar learning. If anybody's telling you that shit, that's absolute horseshit. Okay? Like, I saw a video the other day of, like, learn this 12 bar finger style blues pattern. God damn it. I can talk, I promise. Learn this 12 bar blues finger picking song and you'll instantly get better. And the thumbnail was just like, learn it, and the video was like 10 minutes long. It's like, okay, no. There's no 10-minute solution to instantly getting better at guitar that you are going to teach me. That is horseshit. And I personally don't like you if you make content like that, okay? I don't think you're a bad person. I do. But whatever. Okay, this has gone on for long enough. I hope this video is helpful to you. I hope it inspired. Get your ass up and be inspired. Okay? That's a Kendrick Lamar line from his verse on Mask Off. That's the reference. If anybody remembers that. I really do like that verse. I was listening to that song the other day. Okay. Next video's topic, music diet, and how your music diet can affect how good your playing is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while. But this video is already an hour long. So, thank you for watching. I hope this was somewhat of an inspiration to you, and get out there and start playing. Okay, bye.